Hey, what's up, fam? I was wrong about the demon fox, and where exactly I'm going to go about that is very important to Haguma's character, and definitely want to talk about that because it opens up a very interesting direction. So let me get to exactly how the chapter kind of went that way. So obviously we had the last chapter where Ayana is just like, why do you do this if you don't like it? And they kind of talk about how Higuma never liked it. He hated it because he even though he knows that he's helping people, he's doing these things, he doesn't he can't look past the cries of mercy from the fugitive spirits, because even though they're bad, they they are like this from going to hell and being tortured and stuff, which is their fault for crimes and sins they committed while they were alive. But they have their regret, and then this kind of like uh, self state of misery. Haguma can't help but try and sympathize with them, which is a really nice character trait for him. But at the same time, he honed himself to be able to fight through that. So, like, while he's in the middle of a job, while he goes from this kind of carefree, very lazy, smiley guy into a serious, like, almost no mercy, really no mercy, actually, given what we've seen. Guy who just wants to take down the criminal and proceed to send them back to you know cleansing themselves of their sins through their time in hell and whatnot. And how it because of that, Higuma kind of sees that aspect of him, like that persona, almost as a fake, just this guise. And it, he doesn't see that just on a level of himself, but he sees that, like, even though Enma is very kind of friendly with him, Higuma doesn't see him as like a buddy. He just sees him as his boss because he doesn't like him. He's been tasked with something he doesn't want to do, something he can't really do. And it really does a nice callback for the first chapter when he said Ayana had that strong sense of justice, and she's able to to make out, like, even though the fugitive spirits, you have to have some level of pity and sympathize with them through their cries of anguish, but it's only happening because of stuff they did, and they're only furthering it by trying to justify them wanting to be happy by making others suffer. And Higuma's just like, I commend you for your ability to think like that, but I can't. And where I talked about how the fox demon, how she was going to be like his first big fight, and it didn't look that. It was much more of like a emotional fight for him, like definitely a moment for he as himself. But when you see definitely a hint at where his character kind of came to be in this kind of mindset of, he has to fight through his own senses and his own compassion and sympathy to get the job done, because he knows what'll happen if it goes down. And you see like this moment where he's like a kid, and this weird fugitive spirit with like this either a tail or like feathery like cloak or scarf or something is like confronting him. And how he there's definitely some emotional trauma there, because I talked about how there's definitely something about his past that has weighs down on him and causes him to really hurt in this job, and to make it so he was willing to put his feelings aside in order to get the job done and take out these fugitive spirits. You had some good moments with Aya, who's just like, quit trying to act like you can determine who feels grateful for you and who appreciates what you're doing, because regardless of how you feel, people appreciate how you're able to help them and do good. And that was good. You had a really nice character moment between them. And what is friendship now? I'm guessing this is where, like, this is where their ship really is gonna set sail. And probably when they're their moment looking back, how their characters really started to get closer. But what what really interests me is, we had this kind of panel over to this guy Engetsu, who's like this, I'm assuming this fiery fugitive spirit. Just not only the way he seems to have an N. I think En. I think that in Japanese has something to do with fire. Engetsu. I don't know what. I think what's that like? It's like Fire Fang or something. I don't know. But also his burnt ears. I think that was a really interesting physical character trait. And then while he's talking to this guy, this other fugitive spirit, while he's like talking about how he the fox demon was supposed to kind of just be this measuring stick to see how strong Higuma was, and he wants to keep him distracted as they're working on like bringing back how what he says the old man. So I'm guessing that's going to be like a much like a big deal demon or fugitive spirit, much more like a boss character instead of just a threat. He's going to be all around like a big character, a threat, a big bad, a character that will, if he shows up, it's going to be something that Higuma's not going to be able to defeat until way later along the line. And somebody else in being revealed at the end, which is where I am very interested in, and I think is very interesting because he got melted. He like the guy trying to talk to Engetsu, and I'm kind of confused because Engetsu, I think the guy's a fire thing. Like I feel like the burnt ears, the name, and the fact that he's smoking like has some interesting things to him. But maybe that's not this guy. This other dude is fire because I like literally as I'm reading this right now, I'm thinking maybe like he's not melting because of fire, and it's melting maybe of acid because of this guy who, if you look back, is he's got this. You see that black feathery scarf or whatever when Higuma was a kid, and then you look at this guy, it's the same thing, and he's also crying in that. So I'm wondering if this guy who's got these I'm gonna switch to that instead of thinking fire, because I doubt he would have two fire characters show up like all of a sudden like this. This guy who's got, I'm guessing, acidic tears is not going to be just a bad guy because he's got something deeper seated in Higuma's backstory itself. Someone like, I think the easiest comparison would be for Bleach is Grand Fisher to Ichigo. And even if he doesn't defeat him, it's going to be a huge character moment for him. So that's going to be definitely something along the ways of what exactly this character is gonna. Was he like maybe like killed someone in Precious to Higuma? Is he somehow related to him? Is he maybe a member of his family that went to like a Hell Warden in his bloodline that went to hell at some point, and it's like sad that he is seeing this young Hell Warden. Who knows? There's so much stuff that it could go towards, and that's where I think the chapter itself was the most interesting to me. It's kind of like I was talking about in the latest One Piece chapter. Like the thing that got me like thinking the most in this chapter is what could come out of these events for the main character, rather than what's going on right now. It's where it could lead, and that's what I really want to see with Higuma is how this character really relates to him, because there's always that big character moment, like early in a series, the first big moment where you really can kind of connect and feel with the character, when you really kind of can say like this is how the main character is. I think like looking back, you have that kind of like Grand Fisher moment for Ichigo, and you have like Natsu's fight with Gaju, when you saw like really what the guild meant for him, and like Asta when he had his arms broken, and just like how genuinely appreciative he was of uh, the Black Bulls and everyone around him, something like that. And that's what I think. That's what I'm hoping that the encounter with this acidic tears guy will be for Higuma, and definitely looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to that and seeing how exactly he stacks up his character, and if he's going to be more of an emotional kind of blockade, or maybe a good guy who turns, or a bad guy who turns good, or he was a good guy that turned bad. Who knows? Other than that, drop a comment below and what you thought about this, and what you thought about this chapter, and how exactly you are kind of interpreting this. Other than that, I appreciate it if you would thumbs up the video, befriend the like button and the subscribe button for more reviews, more regular weekly reviews on these different manga, and I really appreciate it if you check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who are already subscribed, and I appreciate you all for listening.